Hello everyone, my name is Hugo and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a review. We're going to review the Graveyard book by Neil Gaiman. So before 2021 I never read Neil Gaiman, like ever. But then I read Norse mythology and I really liked the writing style. And then I read Coraline and I loved it, so I decided to hopefully by the end of this year I'll have read every single one of his books because I really like him. And then I also read like Fortunately the Milk, and now I'm reading this one. Well, I finished it obviously. So first let's talk about what this is about. We follow, so the story starts off as a man called the Man Jack is inside a house and he kills off an entire family. Everyone except for a little boy who's in the crib and he doesn't even realize what's going on. The boy sees the door is open and out of curiosity climbs out of his crib and just walks out, and he walks into a graveyard. The Man Jack follows him there because he still wants to kill the kid, but the graveyard keeper or security man or whatever is like, no, we're closed and you have to leave. So he walks him out, and then the ghosts, like the boy is still in the graveyard, and then the ghosts of his family, so his actual parents, appear in the graveyard and ask the ghosts of the graveyard, please take care of our son. But the parents can't actually stay there because they're not buried there. So the only ghosts that can live on the graveyard are the ones that are actually buried there. So they agree, and two people called Mr. and Mrs. Owens decide to sort of adopt him, and they'll take care of him as their own child. They decide to give him the name Nobody because they don't know anything about him. They don't know a name, so they call him Nobody Owens, or Bot, short for Nobody. The story is very similar to Jungle Book, as in the sense of that Mowgli gets raised by wolves, and like that's really weird, I guess, and in like an environment outside of the real world. Here it's kind of the same. He gets raised by ghosts in a graveyard, without any sort of perception of the real world, like he doesn't know what's going on out there. So what's interesting for me in this book, we see him grow up. So it's a coming of age story. We start the story as him as a little baby and we end as him being grown up. What's interesting is that he gets kind of raised not only by Mr. and Mrs. Owens, who are his parents, but he talks to all these different people on the, well, the ghosts on the graveyard, and they're all from different areas and also from different time periods, right? So they talk as someone from 1800s or from 1400s, or they have habits or standards as someone from that time period. So he kind of learns very different things from all these different people because they're from different time periods. And he also gets assigned a teacher and a guardian, and the guardian is kind of like a mentor figure, but he also has like an actual teacher who teaches him stuff. And one of the things she teaches, it's Miss Lupescu, I think, is like try to learn as much as you can at all times whenever you have the chance. So that's what Bot always tries to do. So it's very nice to see the whole graveyard like take care of him, and like they're all behind him and they want what's best for him in their own way. So maybe one thing I should mention is I told you we see him grow up from a little baby to a grown-up, and it's done in like between chapters there's a time jump. So we start off as him being like a 5-year-old more or less, and then it's a couple of years later and he's 8 or 9 in the next chapter. So it kind of reads like short stories in a way, but with a continuum line. But that might not be for everyone. It's not after one chapter it ends on like something exciting or like a cliffhanger and you want to go to the next one. Each chapter is like, it has an ending, sort of. But obviously you want to read more because you want to read how the book ends. That makes sense, right? The book is also quite funny at times, and it's in like a sweet way, and has some great like one-liners and things like that. And it tackles death in a very curious way, and it's kind of like you shouldn't be afraid of death but also you should make the most of when you're living. And there was this one bit where Bob like didn't really care if he would die or not, and then someone says something, and I'm gonna read it in a second, because the man Jack was still, after all these years, like trying to kill him and trying to look for him. So that's like a constant threat that's in the book. So I'm gonna read like that bit right now. So if you want to skip a few seconds, that's allowed. It's not really a spoiler, but if you want to go in blind, be my guest. Okay. Silas said, out there, the man who killed your family is, I believe, still looking for you, still intends to kill you. Bud shrugged. So, he said, it's only death. I mean, all my best friends are dead. Yes, Silas hesitated, they are. And they are for the most part done with the world. You are not. You're alive, Bud. That means you have infinite potential. You can do anything, make anything, dream anything. If you change the world will change. Potential. Once you're dead, it's gone. Over. You've made what you've made, dreamed your dream, written your name. You may be buried here, you may even walk, but that potential is finished. So yeah, it's a beautiful story with a beautiful ending too. It's funny, it's wholesome, it's sweet, and I saw some reviews on it and I read some reviews on it, and a major criticism that like jumped up every now and then was like that it's unrealistic, in the sense that, oh well, Bud is like a 1-year-old that walks into the graveyard and this adult man tries to kill him and he doesn't get the chance, and that's like very unlikely to happen, man. It's like he's talking to ghosts and doing stuff that's not possible. So, and also if you compare it to Jungle Book, he's being raised by wolves, which is also not very likely, and things happen there too that's like a bit unlikely. So that was like a criticism, but I don't get the criticism. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this, I really recommend it. Neil Gaiman has a sort of writing style that's so fluent and so poetic, and there's always a nice message behind the story itself. And the story itself is already good. I'm sorry if you hear outside the noise, people are being annoying. So yeah, that was my review of The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. I really recommend this. Have you read this? Let me know down below. What do you think? What's your favorite Neil Gaiman book? Because I'm slowly getting through everyone. Right now I'm reading Trigger Warning, and I'll probably, hopefully, read all of them by the end of the year. So I'll leave it at that one. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff to support me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye, guys.
It was only when I got to the end of the book that I realized that in many ways what The Graveyard Book is about, because it's a book fundamentally about life, I got to write about life in The Graveyard Book, because if you set an entire book amongst dead people in a graveyard, you can write about life in a way that you probably couldn't if you were setting it in a school where there's nothing miraculous about the fact that everybody's breathing and changing and walking around. Everybody's doing it. But in a graveyard, I can actually, you suddenly see, it's like a white chalk mark on white paper. You wouldn't really see it. But if you put it against black paper, now you see the white chalk mark. So I'm writing about life.